Welcome to the Eternal format, the unofficial format where every set is legal, from the original base set to the most recent set, with a ban list to keep things balanced. To learn more about the Eternal format, check the links in the description. Up first, we're going to be looking at Grimsley's Hydreigon, which is the list that was played by GetREKT in this match. The original concept behind this list was developed by GetREKT in collaboration with Glacial. The main idea is to use the supporter card Grimsley's move, which allows you to look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put a Darkness Pokemon you find there onto your bench. And using that card, you can put into play even a Stage 2 card, and the main target for Grimsley's move is going to be Hydreigon, which has the Without ability, which allows you, once during your turn, to discard all of your bench Pokemon except for 3 of them that you choose. This is once during your turn, but it is not a hard once per turn, so if you happen to have multiple Hydreigon in play, you can use this ability multiple times, essentially. The main way that this deck deals damage is by placing damage counters using Giratina's Distortion Door ability, which allows it to be put on the bench from the discard pile, and when you do this, you put 1 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. On top of this, we also have Rowlet, which does 60 damage to one of the opponent's bench Pokemon, and has an ability that ignores the attack's cost if you play the Bird Keeper during this turn. Other than that, to do damage, this deck also has Radiant Charizard for the late game. Moreover, this deck also has a variety of fairly low HP 2 prizers as a support Pokemon, since they are not going to be liabilities, since Hydreigon will just discard them. So there is a high count of Crobat V, a Mobile GX, a Dragonite X, and a Cobalion V, and an Eldegoss V, and a Squawkabilly X as well. Now you might wonder, well, what happens if our opponent just doesn't bench Pokemon, and so how do we take prizes if Giratina and Rowlet have no target? Well, there are 2 ways to get around this. First of all, Mobile GX ability allows you, when you bench a Mobile GX, to look at the opponent's hand, and if they have a basic Pokemon there, you can force them to play it onto their bench. And moreover, Honchkrow has a Pokepower that once during your turn allows you to do essentially the same thing, but from the opponent's discard pile instead of their hand. And one cool thing about Honchkrow, by the way, is that despite being a stage 1, it can essentially be played in 1 turn, because its pre-evolution Murkrow has a Pokemon item, Duston, which allows it to evolve instantly, essentially. Next, we're going to be looking at Cynthia's Garchomp EX, which is a deck that was built by Ryan Doby and played in this game by Glacial. Cynthia's Garchomp EX is just a very solid attacker, high HP, low energy cost, very good damage. In addition, its pre-evolution Cynthia's Gabite is a great consistency Pokemon for this archetype, as it allows you, once during your turn, to search your deck for any Cynthia's Pokemon and put it into your hand. Additionally, there are a couple ways to boost the damage of Garchomp's attacks. One of them is Cynthia's Roserade's ability, and another one is Strong Energy. And additionally, Cynthia's Power Rate also allows Cynthia's Pokemon to have 30 more HP. So, before we move on to the game, you will notice that I was neither of the players involved. This game was played between Glacial and GetREKT. If you have any replays from either Twin Leaf or PTCG Sim of interesting games that you would want to share with me, feel free to reach out. I may choose to make a video on that. Moving on now to the game, Glacial in this particular game went first, and they started Cynthia Spiritomb, which is not a Pokemon you want to start. Its attack is better in the late game, whereas GetREKT started with Jirachi, which is a great starter Pokemon, both because of its free retreat cost as well as its Detour attack and Final Wish Pokepower, which is absolutely great for setup. So, Glacial goes first and just passes, so not the ideal start. Meanwhile, GetREKT starts by playing Skyfield, so both players can have up to 8 Pokemon on the bench. Then they play Luxury Ball, which is a staple card of this format. It allows you to search for any Pokemon in your deck except Pokemon level X, with the catch that you can only play it if you have no Luxury Ball in your discard pile. So pretty much every deck is going to run it as a one-off. With that, GetREKT grabs Squawkabilly X, which gets benched. And immediately the Squawk and Seize ability gets used, discarding the hand and drawing 6 cards. One of the cards is Battle Compressor, which allows GetREKT to search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. So with that, this is what the discard pile looks like now. So yeah, there are 2 Giratina here already, and moreover there are also useful Pokemon that can be obtained for use right now with Rescue Stretcher and Night Stretcher. In particular, Night Stretcher gets Dragonite EX, which then gets benched, and its ability allows GetREKT to get 2 Pokemon from the discard pile, namely another G1acia1 and Mawile GX. Mawile GX gets benched, which causes Glacial's Cynthia's Roselia, to get benched. Then the other G1acia gets benched, and the supporter for turn is Birdkeeper, which says switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, draw 3 cards. So yeah, the 2 G1acia get switched with each other, and GetREKT draws 3. And then they attack with Detour, so copying the effect of the supporter that was played for turn, in this case Birdkeeper. So essentially drawing another 3 cards. Glacial's turn. Immediately the supporter is Korrina, which allows Glacial to search the deck for a fighting Pokemon and an item card. And since Glacial needs to be set up, they grab Cynthia's Gible, which is the basic for Cynthia's Garchomp, as well as Buddy-Buddy Poffin. And with Poffin, they get 2 more Cynthia's Gible. One of them gets a Cynthia's Power Weight attached to gain more HP, as well as a Strong Energy. So this is essentially the designated attacker once it evolves. And then Glacial passes. On to GetREKT again. Another Birdkeeper draws more cards. Rowlet gets benched, which, like I said in the intro, will be able to attack for free, given that Birdkeeper was played this turn. G1acia has free retreat, so Rowlet gets in the active spot. One Giratina gets benched with its ability from the discard pile, which means 10 damage to these 2 Pokemon. And then Rowlet's attack is going to put another 60 damage onto this Gible, which gets knocked out. And GetREKT gets the first prize of the game. Now, Glacial here evolves one of the Gibles into Cynthia's Gabite, which has an ability that will allow Glacial to get any Cynthia's Pokemon from the deck. Before that, with versus Seeker, Glacial gets Korrina back, with which they get Rare Candy and Cynthia's Garchomp EX. So now we have the attacker essentially ready, except for the fact that it needs to get to the active spot. Then Cynthia's Gabite ability gets used, getting Cynthia's Roserade, which means that the attack of Cynthia's Garchomp is going to do 30 more damage thanks to Cynthia's Roserade, as well as some additional damage, 20 more, from the Strong Energy attached. And at this point, again, it's a pass because Spiritomb is still stuck in the active. Now, GetREKT attaches Basic Energy to Rowlet in order to retreat it and get back into G1acia. Then they play Hisuian Heavy Ball to search their prize cards for a basic Pokemon, but as you can see, there is no basic Pokemon in their prize cards, so GetREKT just gets to look at them and then shuffle them. And again, it's a pass. So here, Glacial is able to play the A-Spec Prime Catcher, which has essentially the same effect as Guzma. So Glacial can Gust one of GetREKT's bench Pokemon, as well as switch their active to the bench, finally getting the attacker into the active spot. And then Glacial attacks with the Corkscrew Dive, which does 100 damage, plus the 30 from Roserade, plus the 20 from the Special Energy, minus 20 for resistance, so 130. And Glacial also gets to draw until they have 6 cards in hand. GetREKT benches Latias CX, which gives each of their basic Pokemon free retreat, so Dragonite can get out of the active spot with no issue. And again, the turn gets passed. Cynthia's Gabite gets another Cynthia's Garchomp EX, so now there are 2 attackers essentially online, and both are powered up with another Strong Energy going to the benched Garchomp. Then Guzma, same effect as Prime Catcher, except it's on a supporter card. and another Corkscrew Dive, knocking out Dragonite EX and drawing a few more cards, as well as the two prize cards from Dragonite's knockout. Now, back onto GetREKT's side, they bench Eldegoss B, which has an ability that is essentially the same effect as VS Seeker when you bench Eldegoss B from your hand. So they're able to get a supporter card from the discard pile, which is going to be, once again, Birdkeeper, switching that to G1acia and drawing 3 more cards. And then there is the Ditto LOT drawing another 3 cards. Back onto Glacial side, they play an Arven, with which they're able to get an item card and a Pokemon tool card from their deck. They do not grab a tool card, but just choose to grab a VS Seeker. And Corkscrew Jive knocks out the G1acia on GetREKT's side. Now, G1acia has a Poké Power which allows GetREKT to get any card they want from the deck, and with this they grab the core supporter of the deck, Grimsley's move. So we are probably about to see some Hydreigon get into play finally. Glacial takes the prize card, and it's GetREKT's turn. GetREKT uses Star Alchemy, a Beastar power that allows them to get any card they want from the deck, and with that they get Max Revive, which allows GetREKT to put essentially any Pokemon they want from the discard pile onto the deck. So it's presumably going to be this Hydreigon in order to be able to cheat it into play with Grimsley's move, which indeed is what happens. So now there is a Hydreigon in play. Then with a Quick Ball, they get 1 Giratina more into the discard pile and get a Giratina from the deck. Then the Giratina gets discarded by Ultra Ball, as well as an Iron Bundle, to get Oranguru, which is another way to manipulate the top card of the deck. Oranguru gets benched, and the Without ability gets used. So most of the things on GetREKT's bench, in particular all of the 2 prize liabilities, get discarded, giving space for the 3 Giratina to get benched, spreading damage counters onto Glacial's bench. 4 Giratinas actually. And then Oranguru's Primate Wisdom is able to get another Hydreigon on top of the deck, which then will get benched thanks to the Detour attack, copying Grimsley's move again. Switching back to Glacial, they attach a Cynthia's Power Weight in order to protect Roserade from being knocked out by all the Giratina pings. Then with VS Seeker they get Guzma back, with which they're able to target one of the Hydreigon, which gets knocked out also thanks to the weakness here by Cynthia's Garchomp's attack. And then GetREKT on their turn plays a Rescue Stretcher, choosing to put a Pokemon from the discard pile into their hand. In particular, they recover Dragonite EX, with which they're able to recover 2 additional Pokemon. They choose Mobile GX and Eldegoss B. Hydreigon is able to discard all the Giratinas in order to be able to reuse them, as well as the 2 prize liability. Then Mobile GX gets benched, however, there are no basic Pokemon in Glacial's hand, so the ability has no effect. Eldegoss B also gets benched, so recovering a Grimsley's move from the discard pile. Night Stretcher gets Hydreigon back into GetREKT's hand, which gets then put on top of the deck by Oranguru's ability. So now Grimsley's move is guaranteed to hit. 2 Giratina pings, and then the other Without ability gets used. So the Giratinas are able to get used once again, and this is enough to knock out the Cynthia Spiritomb. So immediately one other prize card for GetREKT. Then with the Night Stretcher, Oranguru gets recovered, so another Primate Wisdom ability to get another Hydreigon on top of the deck, which will then get benched thanks to the Detour attack. So, back onto Glacial side, they play Iono. So both players shuffle their hand, put it at the bottom of the deck, and draw 2 cards in the case of Glacial and 4 for GetREKT. And then Glacial is able to take the knockout as well as draw more cards thanks to the attack of Cynthia's Garchomp. Once again, GetREKT is able to get any card they want from the deck thanks to G1acia's Poké Power, and in particular they chose to get the Ace-Spec Max Rod. Then Oranguru gets promoted, Ultra Ball discards 2 cards to get Crobat V, which is able to draw more cards to get out of the Iono situation, basically. Then the first Without gets used. Battle Compressor is able to discard some other cards from the deck. And then Max Rod, the Ace-Spec, gets used, with which GetREKT is able to get back the whole Honchkrow line, as well as Latias CX and Eldegoss B and 1 basic energy. As I said in the intro, Honchkrow is able to be put into play in 1 turn thanks to the Dust on Murkrow. And Honchkrow's Poké Power will be used to get 1 more Pokemon from Glacial discard pile into play, so it's going to be a Spiritomb. Then the Giratina pings happen. The second Without makes space for Eldegoss B and more Giratinas. So the Spiritomb that was put into play is knocked out, giving GetREKT 1 more prize. Then the third Without happens, and Cobalion GX gets put into play with an energy attached, meaning that it will be able to use Iron Roll GX, preventing Glacial from attacking on their next turn. Boardkeeper draws a few more cards as well as getting Cobalion GX into the active spot. More Giratina pings to knock out the Cynthia's Roserade as well. And Iron Roll GX locks Glacial out of attacking. So Glacial here plays Arven in order to get Night Stretcher, with which they get Cynthia Spiritomb back, essentially to prevent the Honchkrow play again, although it is still possible on the Gible and the Roselia. The first ping immediately happens with the first Giratina. Then, Without, 4 more pings happen on the benched Garchomp. Then, with Max Revive and Quick Ball, GetREKT is able to get Dragonite EX again, which gets benched, getting back Iron Bundle and the attacker Radiant Charizard. Another Without happens, and Iron Bundle gets benched, together with 4 more Giratina. Worth noting is Iron Bundle's ability, which allows GetREKT essentially to force the opponent to switch their active Pokemon to the bench, and when this ability gets used, Iron Bundle gets discarded from the bench. This is going to be useful because this damaged Cynthia's Garchomp EX needs to be in the active spot in order to be hit by the Combustion Blast attack, which will win GetREKT the game because of the fact that GetREKT only has 2 prize cards left. However, here is a crucial misplay. Iron Bundle gets discarded by the third Without ability. So this is going to cost, unfortunately, the opportunity to win the game this turn, as the Radiant Charizard is forced to hit the active Pokemon and not the bench Pokemon. Now, all Glacial has to do is to attach another energy in order to be able to use the second attack, which will get the last prize card, and Glacial wins the game. Now, despite the fact that Grimsley's Hydreigon lost this game, it is worth noting that it is a very consistent, very oppressive deck, especially when playing against lower HP Pokemon. It has had good results in a couple of tournaments, and yeah, it is generally a very, very strong strategy. One note that GetREKT told me is that they have since changed this list slightly. In particular, they mentioned that they now play 2 Rescue Stretcher and 2 Ultra Ball instead of 1 and 3. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions about the game or the lists, feel free to comment below. Thanks to GetREKT and Glacial for playing this game, and thanks to GetREKT for sending it over, and I'll see you next time.